Make sure you don't miss a thing. Go to starzology.com/newsletter and sign up. Welcome to the Starzology Astrology Podcast. I'm your host, Alison Price, and I'm here with my good friend and co-host, Arwynne O'Neill.
Hello, Alison. It's great to be here again.
So nice to have you once more. So this time we're going to be talking about some astrological forecasting.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about solar arc directions.
Sounds good.
Which is a indirect forecasting method as opposed to transits, which are direct. So this is solar arc directions come from your own personal natal chart.
Right.
So your directions will be different to my directions, whereas transits will be the same for everybody. It's a full moon on Tuesday. That's the same for everyone.
Right.
But with this method, it actually is sourced from your own birth chart.
So I know we'll probably get into this, but what I know of, the three different prediction methods, and there may be more, but the three main categories are transits, progressions, and directions. Mm-hmm. So we know what transits are. Transits we talk about all the time.
Yes.
And that's when a planet is, let's say, like Pluto is conjunct your Mercury or whatever. Or Pluto is conjunct Mercury out there for everyone. And progressions. But what's the difference between progressions and directions?
Well, that's the thing.
That's the thing.
So let's talk about that. So progressions, secondary progressions come from your birth chart too. And the rule of thumb, if we can say that, is that for every year of your birth, that you move the chart forward one day.
Right.
So say you were born on the 1st of January 50 years ago and you're now 50 years old, you will move the actual chart forward 50 days in the ephemeris, and that will be your progress chart.
Right.
Because basically the sun is moving at almost 1 degree a day, which translates into 1 degree a year. Right. So if you're 50 years old, you move your sun forward 50 degrees.
That's to cast the progress chart.
Yes.
Yeah.
But what happens is that with the progress chart, say you've got Mars retrograde natally, it will go retrograde by progression and then it will come forward as well. So the planets really could be anywhere.
Yeah. Well, especially, once you're 50, especially.
Yes.
When you're 20 something, it may not move that much.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, the moon will. But
So your progress chart, the planets could be absolutely anywhere. But now with solar arc directions, we are looking at the solar arc, which is how far did the sun move from the day you were born to age 50, which is your progress position of the sun. Mm-hmm. Whatever that distance is, that gap, that is known as your solar arc. And you then project forward all the planets of your chart, that amount.
Oh.
So the whole chart remains the same. The aspects between planets remain the same. So if natally you've got Moon conjunct Pluto, it will be in your direct chart too, but the whole thing's moved forward 50 degrees.
Oh, so it just puts everything in different...
everything. The clack is,
Yeah, so signs and houses will all be different, but the relationships will be the same?
Correct.
How bizarre. How cool. And you can do this for any time, or is this something that people do on a certain, like their birthday or...
Oh, any day of the week.
Any day, like same as progressions, you can just run it.
So, but that's why it's symbolic, because it's different for you as it's different for me, because your solar arc at 50 whatever is going to be different to my solar arc because we're different ages.
Right.
Only if you were born on the exact same day as somebody else will you have the same solar arc.
Right.
So this is why it's very personalized to you. So say yours is, and of course the computers work it out beautifully, and I recommend AstroGal because that's what we're using. And it just straight up calculates your solar arc for today and then moves the whole chart into your position, and we could see your solar arc chart as well.
Yeah. And as I think I always like to do this, but for anyone who doesn't have the software, and we're not getting
go for it.
Kickbacks from Solar Fire, maybe we will, and then we'll stop recommending the free stuff. If you're listening out there, Solar Fire, but if you go to astro.com, you go to, I believe it's advanced charts or other charts.
Okay.
That is something that you can also run there. And they don't give you all the interpretations for those things. They give you interpretations for daily transits and for upcoming big transits.
But what you're saying, they will calculate?
You can actually calculate, So,
okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's another option, right?
Yeah, if you don't have the software.
Yeah, if you don't have the software. Well, of course, back in the day when I started learning astrology and there was no computers, we had to do this by hand.
I was going to ask.
Because you're not just saying, okay, I'm 50 years old. What you're saying is I'm 50 years old, 7 months, 3 days and 15 hours. And that's the arc. Because the arc is growing every single day.
Yeah.
And but once you got the number, you're fine, and then it moves. So anyway,
it's amazing astrology was able to be done.
Well, this is why it's not. It might be more popular now because you can just tap it out, but if you still don't know where it's coming from, it's kind of, you've lost the plot. Yeah. So I recommend that you use. If you've got an hour to do astrology, I'm saying use, 5 minutes on solar arc directions, because you don't glean that much. You're not likely to see many directions of significance within a 12-month period look ahead.
Yeah.
But this is one of the forecasting methods I use, and we were asked about it last month, so that's why we're kind of chatting about it today.
So this came out of a listener.
Somebody texted us, because if you click at the top on Spotify or Apple, you can send us a text straight away, and someone had asked, well, could you explain a bit more about solar arc directions?
Amazing.
So
we are.
So where do they come from, and why do we care?
Yeah.
Right?
Cool.
So the thing is that the whole chart is shifting forward. I'm just using the example of 50 years. It's shifting forward 50 degrees for 50 years. And that means everything's moving, the ascendant, the midheaven, and there's no retrograde with directions. Everything moves forward because the position remains.
Yeah.
So every 30 years, you will get a different sun sign and you'll get a different ascendant.
Right. Yeah. Because that's how long it takes for those to move around the entire zodiac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if we look at I'm going to use you as an example because you're right here. So if we look at we've got a bi-wheel with Arwynne's natal chart in the middle and the solar arc directed chart on the outside. And you can see quite clearly here that her ascendant has moved down into the third house. Mm-hmm. It went through the first, it went through the second. It's currently in the third, and it's now in Aquarius.
Oh.
So your directed ascendant is Aquarius.
Amazing.
And therefore your directed chart ruler is
Uranus.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
Wow.
So that just did that 3 years ago because it's at 3 degrees. So if we go with this 1 degree eyeballing thing, you can say it's basically 1 degree per year, give or take. You can always check with a computer, but in general, it's around 1 degree a year. The whole chart's moving forward.
Yeah. And now I'm wondering what happened 3 years ago.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's not the only question. I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
So what also happens is that, well, anyway, let's go through it in logically because I'm jumping around a little bit here. Yeah,
amazing.
So the point is that let's just take it. So you then will have a solar arc length, and it will be in degrees and minutes, whatever that is. So it'll be maybe 50 something degrees. And if you look at your natal chart and you say, well, there are gaps between all of your planets. So for instance, with Arwynne, she's got a gap between, say, Uranus and Neptune of X amount of degrees. We don't know what that is, but that arc will be, maybe it's 26 degrees, for example. So the year you were 26, your solar arc matched that degree.
Okay.
So the younger you are and the sooner you get into astrology, the better with solar arc directions, because you can then say, well, how much difference is there between my Mercury and my Sun? How much between my Sun and Moon? How much between my Moon and Pluto? And whatever that degree number is, that will be the year of your life when these two planets get triggered.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
So these are your gaps, and technically you would want to take all of your gaps between your planets, which are different to my planet gaps, because you've got a gap between Uranus and Neptune, but I don't.
Right. Yeah.
So we want to say that gap is, say, I don't know, 26 degrees, this one's 17 degrees, that one's 57 degrees. And you want to sort your gaps in order from smallest to largest to see which year of your life they will be triggered.
Wow. And is that something Solar Fire does automatically?
Not that I'm aware. I normally do it by hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can really eyeball it.
Mm.
And if you're an astrology student, this is what you ought to be doing.
Yeah.
When I was teaching
It's like learning your multiplication tables, or
this is how you realize, and you get the students and they come back the next week and said, now I get what you're talking about, because I'm talking, but they're going, what?
Yeah.
What are you saying, Alison? So those are known as your gaps. And They are arcs, and they will be triggered on those years of your life. So say you are now 50 years old, you're going to be looking for any planetary gap that is more than 50 degrees, because that's still coming up for you.
Yes. Okay.
So looking at your chart here, particularly, I would say perhaps there's something there between Mars and Saturn. I don't know what that gap is. Maybe in the you can, in the interval you can work that out. Or there's definitely a much bigger gap between your Jupiter and your Chiron, and that will appear for you later.
Huh.
So that's the one thing, how you would use solar arc gaps. And although they say on average the sun is moving 59 degrees, 58 minutes a year, it's some years are more and some years are less. Now, this depends on when you were born in the year, because if you were born when the sun was in Cancer, the sun will actually be moving slowly in your early years. And if you were born when the sun was in Capricorn, it will be moving faster because of how close the sun is to the Earth. It's further away in Cancer.
Oh, wow.
And it's closer in Capricorn. So, but in general, we take 1 degree.
Yeah.
But technically, you'd have to check.
Is this a technique that was used by ancient astrologers?
It absolutely.
So they knew. That's crazy. I mean, obviously they knew about the seasons and they knew about summer and winter, but that's crazy that they had figured out why.
Yes. So I've got a bit of a list of the development of solar arc direction. So let's throw it at you. So back in the day, Ptolemy, he created the primary directions, which we're not going into today. Then we had Maginus, he'd created secondary progressions. Next, we have Nabodo, and he created the Nabod arc directions, which also is a popular direction method, not what I use. And then Placidus, go you, he created these solar arc directions. So there was this development once they realized how these things were going.
Yeah.
And yes, that answers your question, right?
Yeah.
The question is, what's next? Well, who knows, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So an interesting thing with solar arc directions is once you put your chart up, you can realize that when you're forecasting in a 12-month period, you're looking for a solar arc directed planet or point that will conjoin one of your planets.
Yes.
So say, for instance, you want to say, well, when will my directed sun conjoin my ascendant or conjoin my Uranus or whatever it is? And if it's happening in the next 12 months, that becomes part of your forecast information for anyone who's having a reading with me, for instance.
Awesome. That's astounding.
Yeah. So I generally go with the conjunctions for sure. You definitely want to know when that's happening. You also want to know when a directed planet is changing signs, such as your ascendant changed from Capricorn into Aquarius 3 years ago. But so it won't be part of this year's forecast. It would have been a part of 3 years ago forecast.
Right.
That shift in personality that came forward.
Yeah.
And then additionally, you are specifically looking for the angles changing sign as well, and the planets and angles changing house.
Yeah.
I know is the exact word.
Wow.
So if we go back and just look at your chart here, we can see that your directed moon is now at 4 degrees Scorpio. So 2 years ago, it crossed your ascendant.
All right.
Oh, there you go. So, and one does not want to necessarily look into the past, but that's what you're looking for, and you can see this. But what we can also see is that your sun is now at 28 Libra, and your ascendant is at 2 Scorpio.
Yeah.
So in 4 years' time, which will be in 2029, your directed sun will be conjoining your ascendant, which will reinvigorate your whole personality, your whole first house.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's really interesting because it seems like the ascendant changed signs 3 years ago. Then the moon conjoined my actual ascendant
2 years ago.
So what I'm thinking is, and I do, when you say we don't necessarily want to look into the past, but then again, that is one of the best ways to confirm, to confirm that this stuff is real and to know what to look for in the future, because you can say, oh, well, gosh, this makes perfect sense because blah, blah, blah happened to me back then.
Exactly. It's brilliant.
Yeah. I mean, and 3 years ago, I incorporated. So I went from being a corporate worker to being a self-employed
independent Iranian
contractor. And I am a corporation, which is crazy.
Yes.
So, I don't know how, I don't know about that moon, but yeah.
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 So the idea is that, and of course you've got your nodes and everything's moving the same amount each year. And every time you calculate your solar arc direction, the arc is changed ever so slightly wider and wider and wider. It never gets narrower. It never retrogrades. So everything's kind of moving forward. So with the ascendant, it's always interesting because there's a change of sign. Therefore, there's a change of chart ruler, which would have been indicated 3 years ago that you went from Saturn to Uranus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's just exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
So you have those shifts as well. But all the planets are making conjunctions and they're changing signs and changing houses. So if you were my client coming to me today looking at this chart, I'm looking for planets, directed planets at 29 degrees. Because I know they're going to change signs in the next 12 months.
Right.
And let's have a look. I haven't even had a close enough look at the chart here. So we've got here is now 25, 26, 22, 21, 4. So your sun is at, okay, so your nodes, your north node is at 26 Aquarius. So in 4 years' time, that will change signs for you. Your Mars is at 26 Gemini, and that in 4 years will change signs for you. And your sun is at 26, and in 4 years, that will change house for you too, right? But that's the only ones. They're your latest numbers, 26. The sun, Mars, and the nodes are all at 26. That's the latest number you have. So we've got a 4-year period when, gosh, Arwynne, it'll be interesting to know who you are then.
Right.
And additionally, you're not only looking for directed planets changing signs at 29 degrees, you're looking for any planet that's going to change house in the next 12 months. So you're looking for planets close to a house cusp, and your closest one coming up at the moment is you've got Pluto is at 24. Well, apart from the sun, Pluto is at 24, and your second house cusp is at 0. So in 6 years, Pluto will change house as well. But first, the sun will change house in 4 years' time. We also have Saturn over here. Saturn is currently in the 8th house at 2 degrees Cancer, and your 9th house cusp is at 4 degrees Cancer. So Saturn is going to change house in 2 years' time. But for this 12-month period looking forward, there's actually nothing coming up. And this is usually the case.
Yeah.
You're lucky to get 1, 2, or 3 flag things popping up.
Yeah. Well, that makes it, as you say, it's 5 minutes out of that hour.
It really is.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once you've calculated your arcs, which I haven't done, you will then be able to see quite clearly what I'm saying about these arcs. Because say you've got Jupiter 50 degrees from Chiron, at age 50, it will conjoin Chiron. This is why we're looking at these numbers.
Right.
Because your gaps will match the arc in 1 year and 1 year only. They never come back. It's a one-hit wonder with directions. They happen 1 year, and that's it for the rest of your life.
Wow. Wow. That is crazy. That is definitely way more complicated than I thought solar arc directions were.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because, I just see it as an option that you can, in the software or on astro.com or whatever. Like, oh, well, I don't know if I'm interested in that, or, you check the transits, you check the progressions, and then solar arc directions were always kind of like, I don't even know what that is.
It's an afterthought. It's an absolute afterthought. Yeah. Yeah, so you're looking for your angles and your changing signs. So that's the ascendant, midheaven generally. Of course, your vertex, your pot of fortune, all of those things, which I'm not even displaying here. Mm-hmm. You're looking for those, and you're looking for your ascendant, because that gives you a new chart ruler.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, your directed sun is the exact same position as your progress sun. So you would have done progressions interpretations before this and have got to the fact that, oh, yes, she's got 4 years there too.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of what you're looking for. But the absolute best thing about understanding solar arc directions, when you get your head around it, the interpretation is very similar to what you would do for any interpretation. Yeah. You've got the sun and the ascendant coming together, therefore X, Y, Z.
Right.
But if you're looking at somebody's natal chart, if we just go and say somebody, as you go to these, when you go to these astrology meetings, and people come and say, "Can you have a look at my chart?"
Yeah,
and as they do, because we know that the directed chart is moving at 1 degree per year, we can look at any actual planet that is moving towards the ascendant or the midheaven particularly. So we're looking for planets in the 12th house, of which you actually have one, which is great. And we see here that you've got Uranus at 20 degrees and your ascendant is at 2 Scorpio. So this is at, how many years would it have taken to get there? top spot quiz. What's the angle there? 2202. So it's going to be 12.
12, yes.
So add age 12.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. We've actually talked about my
well, I don't know what you're going to say.
I know we've talked about when I was 11 or 12, both because my Pluto actually conjuncted my ascendant. Conjuncted, is that
that's the transiting Pluto?
It is, but it just goes to show,
yes,
like that was an incredibly fraught period of time for me. And I mean, for everyone, probably puberty, etc. But for me, astrologically, like that was an incredibly crazy time.
Underlined by
now, not only just that transit of Pluto over my ascendant, but now the solar arc.
The directed Uranus
over my ascendant
is conjoining your ascendant. Now, I use a 1 degree orb.
My poor little Scorpio ascendant.
I know.
It's just being pummeled by Pluto and Uranus.
Yes, so you're going to be using 1 degree applying and separating. There'll be 1 degree coming up, 1 degree afterwards. So it generally, technically, it's a 2-year period, but you want to zoom into when was that going to be exact.
Right.
And if going back, and here's some homework for you, Arwynne, you would go back and you would see that transiting Pluto was conjoining your directed ascendant, conjoining your natal ascendant as well, and your directed Uranus, and all three would have lined up to give that extra. How do you like it at age 12? And
I think I can actually guess the month.
Well, there you go. And it is in orb, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Pluto retrograded over your ascendant. It probably did.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
So this is it. So if you're looking at someone's chart off the top of your head, and you would then say, well, at age 12, a Uranian thing happened to you.
Yeah. And the person would be like, OMG, probably.
How did you know that?
Of course, yeah.
How did you know that?
What happened to you?
We go further back and we see that you've got Venus is at 11 degrees Libra, so it's got to go 19 degrees plus 2, so that's age 21. Venus conjoined. Yeah, well, you know what I'm talking about. That is going to be age 21. Venus is conjoined. The directed Venus conjoins your ascendant. Beyond that, we've got Pluto at 3, so that would have been 27 plus 2, age 29. You've got the Pluto thing coming down. So because you're just looking at the natal chart, you don't need to cast the directed chart at this point. You could tell by looking at the natal chart important years, because they're hitting the ascendant if there are planets in the 12th or 11th houses.
Yeah.
And if your person's 50 years old, you would go back 50. And we know that the moon has just passed. We said 2 years ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
So that has passed, and we can see that the sun's lining up to cross over as well.
And then Mercury will follow.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So any planets in the 12th in a natal chart, without even casting, you could say, were you in a car accident at age 6? And they go, well, it was actually 7. And you go, well, there you go. And they say, gosh, you're good. I said, well, I try. Particularly to the ascendant and also to the midheaven. Yeah. Because these are changes in how people perceive you in the public world. So,
and that's your first 60 years, essentially, right there, is those houses, what's in those 3 houses.
Well,
because degree-wise, this is what...
Yes.
Approximately.
Well, that's to the ascendant.
Yeah.
If you're looking at what's coming up to the midheaven, you can look for any planets in the 9th house.
Yes.
And then you do happen to have a planet here in the 8th house. That's 2 degrees in. That's 12. So that would be 28 plus 12 is...
30. Wait, 40.
40. Age 40, Saturn's crossing your midheaven.
Ah. I got a nose job at age 41.
Well, did you really?
Yeah.
I know. I didn't know you were 41.
I was 41, yeah.
But any planet says, so that would have occurred too, because we know when we put up the bi-wheel, we know that actually Saturn has already crossed over there.
Yeah.
Directed Saturn. But the point is that without casting a directed chart, just by looking at the natal planets in 12 and 9, you can immediately talk to the person about, at age 15, did this happen? And they'll say it's 16 or whatever they'll say. But they'll usually say something, yes, actually, because you don't miss a transit to your ascendant.
Yeah. This
does not go unnoticed.
Yeah, this is an astrological party trick that you can pull out of your hat and impress, win friends and influence people.
Well, and you just look at it, and you just looking at the natal chart of people you're casting, you think, well, There it is. And this year she's 50 years old or 75 or whatever age she is. It's this planet's triggering
enough. Count the degrees and go, yeah.
Yeah, and of course you can get the computer to calculate it directly, but the orb will tell you as well.
Yeah.
Because by this stage you will have done the transits first. You would have done any eclipses as well. You would have then done secondary progressions. And this is the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Reinforcing and underlining highlight years.
Yeah, for sure.
Highlight years coming and going and...
yeah.
Yes. But once you realize the potential of that, it makes sense. So here you've also got Chiron now in your 6th house. That would have crossed to your descendant. So it's at 20. That's at 2. So that would have been age 12.
Yes, I told you it was a crazy year.
Chiron entering the 7th house.
Oh, God. Well, first love. Wow. Yeah. And I know people are like, say, yeah, okay, you're 12, whatever. But I mean, it did affect me. It did affect me a lot. I was very deeply in love with this boy.
Well, this is, and it must have been painful.
Yes, it was. He was a Scorpio. It was one of those things. He was a teenage runaway. Teenage. He was my age. He's 1 year older than me. And he lived in our basement for a few months.
Oh.
Because he ran away from home and my mother took pity on him. And then we would take long walks together in the rain, and it was very angsty. And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, can you see the benefit of looking at directed charts?
I am a convert. Yes.
Because now, if you put up the chart of somebody a natal chart, and you see that they perhaps have some planets in their 12th house, which is really the first place you want to be looking at for directed incidents, if you will, that's where you're going to look.
Yes.
Now, because of the strength of this technique, this is how charts get rectified.
Oh, yeah.
Because if somebody says, at age 12, I had 3 things, but the chart's telling you it's age 11, you can adjust the ascendant to match the exact point of that car accident, that nose job, that big thing that occurred. And this is how charts get rectified by rectification astrologers.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting method of doing things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So your big things are going to be when the directed ascendant is changing signs, your chart ruler is changing.
Yeah.
So do you have a chart there of somebody perhaps who has a planet in the 12th house?
The first 3 people I checked don't have anything shocking.
Okay.
And I just found,
Okay, so Arwynne and I have been having a bit of a chat here, and she's come up with a chart of somebody who has a planet in the 12th house, and we're just going to go through how we calculated the age of this conjunction.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's the planet?
So the planet is Chiron, and,
right.
And this chart, she actually has 3 things in the 12th house, but the first 2 are very close to the ascendant. They're basically conjunct the ascendant. So her ascendant is 22 degrees Taurus, and she's also got Mercury and Saturn conjunct the ascendant. So those wouldn't count because those would have happened in the
first 2 years of life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what?
We can assume that the first couple of years of her life were maybe, not great, or, but there was something happening. And then she's got Chiron at 9 degrees Aries. So her 12th house is a very large house, and it encompasses both Taurus and Aries.
So what is the arc distance between her ascendant at 22 Taurus and Chiron at 9 Aries?
It is 43.
It is 43. Now, what does Chiron represent in general?
Well, it's the wounded healer, and it is
where you see pain, isn't it?
Where you see, absolutely. It is in anyone's chart. It is where you have damage, where you have
feel
injury,
less than.
where you struggle, and with luck and with with good aspects and good fortune and etc., you can assimilate Chiron, and that is where you can become a teacher or a healer.
Correct.
Or help other people. Yeah. And we've talked about this in the past. We've talked about the Chiron return, which happens around the age of 50.
Yeah.
And that is generally when, especially women, enter a phase in their life where they can kind of be a little more both selfish and more unselfish, because you're out of traditionally, biologically, you're out of childbearing years. And you may have, changed career a couple of times and settled on something that is either more satisfying or more you. And you can then help and mentor and teach others. So Chiron can be a great thing, but it can also be, it's that Achilles
It's the
heel.
wound.
It's that, yeah, exactly. So, yeah. And when you said 43, I basically turned white as a sheet. And I mean, I was flipping through my favorite charts, of my partner, my mother, people we've talked about a lot. And none of them had anything in the 12th house. And then I thought, well, I know Charlene had something in the 12th house because she, was a Gemini who had, a bunch of things in Taurus. I knew that.
So what we're actually saying is that directed Chiron would have reached her ascendant at age 43.
At age 43. And when you said 43, I kind of did a double take and had to calculate the year because that is the year she committed suicide.
Unfortunately.
And she had struggled with depression, struggled with being on just a ton of different medications, most of half of her life. Her early childhood was fraught with abuse and confusion and different, obviously everyone has their story, but
yes,
but this was the end result of it. And she was my best friend at the time. I've written about this in the past.
We'll put a link to your story.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is that this is just one point, and we would have to look at the full thing for that year.
Yes.
To see that there was other things in play.
And obviously there would have been because no one commits suicide in a vacuum. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
And we're also not saying that anytime.
No, we are definitely not saying that. It's just, this example was just so startling that we had to bring it forward because how could we ignore that?
This is it. It is there. And because the directions is the last thing you're doing.
Right.
It's not the first thing you look at. It's the last thing you're looking at. And it's just reinforcing the pain that must have occurred at the time.
Absolutely. I from knowing her, I know that one of the beginnings of her descent into mental illness and all of this stuff happened right around the time of her Saturn return. And that's when she received this, kind of diagnosis that resulted in just a constant battle with the medical system and being, in and out of mental health care and trying to go it alone. And she eventually lost the battle. But yeah.
And it's a difficult topic. And I know as a Scorpio that you do these topics, which is fine.
Yeah. But it's illustrative in the sense that
it came up in the directions.
It came up. Yeah. And it's,
and I've got to tell you, things usually do because you've only got 10 planets.
Yeah.
And if they're not in there close enough to make a point, not all your planets will cross the ascendant. They can't in your lifetime. Yeah. Only those basically in your 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th have the potential to cross your ascendant. So if you don't have planets there, which I do not, I don't get directions to my ascendant.
Yeah.
But if you've got a lot of planets up there in that 4th quadrant, which Arwynne does, she's got 6, you're able to use this technique to its best advantage.
Actually, that's an interesting thing to note. A lot of people don't have a lot of things in that. So
so you're not going to get the directions to the ascendant. You'd get other directions, but not to the ascendant. Because these ones, when they cross the ascendant, you don't miss that year. This is your annus horribilis. Is that what you used to call it? Or something?
Yeah.
Why was you called when the place burned down, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I always think when I hear that phrase, I always think 1968. I think there was some documentary that called 1968 the annus horribilis.
Really?
All the assassinations and the wars.
Right. Well, this was Elizabeth I'm quoting, right?
Yeah.
When Buckingham Palace caught fire.
Yeah.
And they got 2 of her kids got divorced and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Yes, clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So another thing to notice with directed planets is the important years that correlate with aspect arcs. So the first one you would get would be sextile, and this would tend to be at age 60. You would get your sun sextiling back to its position. So the directed sun will sextile your natal sun. And all your planets will do it. Your directed moon and your directed all of your planets. So when you then get your aspect grid, you get the exact same aspect. And that's when you know you've got a directed aspect here. So the one I've got suggested here is this is the one for the semi-sextile, which is age 30. So that is a trigger year for directions. Then we have the semi-square at age 45, which is also a tough year because it's hooking into all those other midlife periods as well. So you would get the directed sun semi-square, its natal position.
Right.
And all the planets are in the same tense aspect.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
The good thing comes at age 60 because then you've got the sextile.
Yeah.
And then if you manage to get it to age 90, then you've got the square.
Nice.
So you do have the potential for those ones. It's age 30, age 45, 60, and 90.
Yeah.
And those are interesting years too for directions because all the planets are triggering. So it becomes one of those highlight years.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I love that.
Yeah. So that's another thing to look out for with directions. And so if someone is 45, not only have they got maybe Uranus opposition Uranus, they've got, or Neptune square Neptune, they've got all these directions coming in as well. Yeah, so that's a kind of another thing to pay attention to.
That's very cool.
So, Arwynne, I think you said that you casually looked at directions previously, but do you feel you've got a better understanding of it now?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Of how it can help you get straight to the point.
Definitely. Yeah, I love the idea that you can actually see something at a glance and just kind of estimate it based on someone's actual chart. I mean,
on their birth chart, yeah.
All the calculations are amazing, but if you can just anything where you can kind of glance at it and go, oh, what happened when you were 12, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
magic.
Or even, this is what happened when you were 12. Because the planet will impact the life, basically.
Yeah.
So, and, that's a great one to work at as well.
Yeah.
Also, if you've got those very close ones to the sun, say you've got a planet, those are going to be, say you've got Mercury 2 degrees away from the sun, that's going to age 2. That will be hitting your sun where you're then starting to talking or whatever it is, or you had to go for speech therapy. All of these things that are pivotal years show up with directions.
So here's a question, because I do not consult. My astrology interest is purely research based, and I love to talk about it and to philosophize. But you actually will have clients coming to you who may have an upcoming something that looks ominous. Let's say, and I know we've talked about this about transits for sure, but when you see, if someone comes to you with this, with Charlene's chart, where you see that this Chiron is going to be touching the ascendant, what do you say?
Well, I wouldn't go straight to suicide, that is for sure.
Of course, no.
But it has to be a painful year. It either is going to be physically painful where they are having to have monster surgeries, or it's going to be technically mentally painful to deal with feelings of usually inadequacy within Chiron. And a feeling of I am less than. Or
I'm not up for the struggle.
I am being found wanting in several areas.
Yeah. It's never going to get any better than this. That's something that I remember.
As good as it gets.
Yeah, honestly.
But you see, it does pass if you can get through it.
It does. Everything does. Yeah.
But
that's obviously anyone who is ever feeling suicidal or knows anyone who has mental health issues. That is one thing that we all know, is that these things do pass, and you can move forward from them if you wait it out, struggle, ask for help.
Yeah.
And that's not just astrological advice. That's just, life experience.
Yes.
But but that's one of the things about knowing that these things are coming.
It is because they never
forewarned is forearmed.
And they never happen in isolation.
Yeah.
There's always build-ups. There's transits going on in the background. There's pressures coming already. There's natal aspects leaning towards these trends anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is why people who were born on the same day, one may turn into a mass murderer and someone becomes an absolute angel.
Yeah.
It's how you play the hand you're dealt.
Yeah.
So there is that to it as well, in the environment you came up in and so on. But if you got a highlighted directed planet, you definitely need to mention it. Yeah. And I will highlight it on my forecast information that I put on the graphic ephemeris.
Yeah.
And there's usually one or two, and that's all you ever get, because like we look at your chart, there's nothing happening direction-wise for another 2 to 3 years. Mm-hmm. But by golly, there's quite a lot all coming on the same year, so we need to unpack that independently.
Yeah.
And not only that, check out all your other transits and whatnot, and this will just underline the theme that is passing through and then will eventually pass, because you've got this window. It's a degree applying and a degree separating. But technically, the exact point is really the highlight of the event.
Yeah.
But it will start bubbling under for that period of a year before and then a year after. And that year where it really is a bang-on exact is going to be where the crisis occurs. It's where the volcano erupts, because it's coming and it's coming. And finally...
Yeah.
the volcano erupts.
Yeah, it always does, eventually.
In whatever way it is.
Yeah.
But so personally I like using directions because they are handy. Once you understand how it works, it's handy to sort things out and help people immediately.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can dig into it and check your dates for sure. Yeah.
Amazing. This is so much more useful than seeing it just in a grid or something like that, where you will, you're seeing it in a soup of other astrological information.
Yes, this is the thing.
Right?
There's so much
it kind of looks equal
through.
And you're like, I don't know. Sure, I can see this.
Yeah.
But this is so much more meaningful.
Well,
and it's bite-sized as well. It's not, when you look at like a transit aspectarian or like the thing with the wavy
the graphic ephemeris, graphic ephemeris.
Sure, yeah. But
this is why I'll tell you now, your average astrologer only forecasts with transits because the other methods are complicated.
Yeah.
But if you understand them, it makes you a better astrologer.
I love that.
So she says.
Yeah.
So so there is that, because if you have an astrologer who's only talking to you about, Pluto's squaring your sun and then Neptune's entering your seventh, if that's all she's got, she's not doing the best astrology she can. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Now, you wouldn't only do directions.
No, of course. No.
You would always do transits. You would frequently do secondary progressions and eclipses and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you may or may not do directions. I do all four all the time because it gives me more to go on.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
it's a full meal deal.
It's like the three-legged stool. You need a transit, a progression, and a direction, and then you're on solid ground. Your stool will stand up, your little milking stool, as you lean against your Frisian cow milking away. Because otherwise, you're standing on one leg, aren't you? Like a flamingo.
I love flamingos. But they're not anyone's model for how to
live. Yeah.
No.
So anyway, Okay, so if you've got this far, well done you. Mm-hmm. So in this episode, we've been talking about solar arc directions, where they come from, how to measure them, the fact that everyone's got a different arc and it's growing as we speak.
Yeah.
Almost like your hair or something. It grows at that kind of degree.
Millimeter a year or hair.
What degree?
Faster,
yeah. And then we're all at different positions, and we've all got different openings with different planets bordering those openings. So there's each chart is different. And we've also spoken about what you're looking for with directions, when it's the changing signs and house and making conjunctions particularly. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, the actual, the 12th house and the 9th house planets that will trigger just straight from the natal chart. Yeah. So if you found value in this episode, please do consider sharing it with anybody else who would be interested. Make sure you're getting our newsletter, and you can sign up at starzology.com/newsletter. Make sure you're getting Arwynne's newsletter, and you can find her at...
I'm at mspink.net. That is mspink.net. I'm on Substack, so I would love it if you would subscribe and share it with anyone you think would find value in it. I'm talking about art, goddesses, personal stories, and popular culture, and I send out my newsletter every Saturday.
Fantastic. So thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much for getting this far through the episode. I just want to take a moment to tell you about the two main options of my astrology services. So the first one is coaching. If you are an aspiring astrologer, and by that I mean someone who's perhaps a hobbyist astrologer, or someone who's learning astrology, or a student, or you've got a few books and you've been doing it for a while, but perhaps you need a little bit of help to bring it all together, then maybe getting some astrological coaching from me would be the answer for you. The astrology coaching I offer is a 1-hour session on Zoom, and it's tailored to answer your particular questions. For example, if you have issues with natal chart readings, we can go there. Or if you're having problems working with your forecasting, we can go there. Or even basic astrology stuff, or even getting yourself organized for your astrology business. The idea is that astrological coaching will answer your particular questions. It's tailored specifically to you and where you are in your astrological journey. And I'm happy to help you out with some guidance about how you can get going, what to focus on, and what to dismiss. So that would be the astrological coaching for people trying to learn astrology. The second astrological service I offer is consultations. So this is for someone who perhaps doesn't know anything about astrology, but they just want to have their chart read or get their chart done. Call it what you will. So once more, this is a 1-hour consultation over Zoom. I will interpret your chart, tell you about the main features, tell you about where the energy is flowing, and all the rest of what is entailed in a thorough natal chart interpretation. I can also add in some forecasting in there too, bearing in mind we only have 1 hour. So just in summary, I've got coaching for people who want to learn astrology, and I've got consultations for those who want to get an astrology reading done. I'm Alison Price from Starzology.com. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.